The Middle Ground is a Star Wars podcast hosted by Max Opasek and Kevin Isaacs. All the media that is discussed in the podcast is owned by Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company. The boys' opinions are, well, you guessed it, simply just their opinions. So please tune in, relax, and McClunky.
It's what they did. What I was worried that they were gonna do in the first episode and make Baby Yoda like too cute or like be like they know he's popular, so let's give him more stuff to do. Let's have him eat eggs.
I did think the moment where he ran up to Mando away from the spiders, was really cute.
Yeah. I know what you like picked him up. Yeah. No, that was.
And then he threw him at the wall full force.
Could you imagine? He just throws him like a football and leaves. Just
okay. Let's talk about Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
So
you start.
I'm gonna go ahead, go out on a limb.
Say limb.
This movie moved up in ranking for me.
How high though? Where was it before and where is it now?
It was at 6, below Revenge of the Sith. I just put it above Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
So
really?
Yeah, Attack of the Clones is 5th for me now.
That's surprising, actually. I wonder if Revenge of the Sith is going to move up.
It surprised me too, because I rewatched it 3 days ago and then rewatched it today, like some of it today.
Mm-hmm.
And as we have the movie playing while we're recording this, it's on silent. This opening scene, I really like.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's great. Like, with the whole assassination plot. And I wanted to bring this up specifically, that I did not enjoy this movie by itself. But knowing all that I know that happens in Clone Wars makes it a better experience. Similar to how Episode 7 is not as great to me anymore because I know what's going to happen next.
That's...
And I know...
That's kind of sad.
I know it's sad, but like... all the political stuff in Episode 2 that, like, as a kid, I did not resonate with me. I'm like, this is cool. Like, I can see the deception from Palpatine.
Oh, yeah.
All that,
It's a big Palpatine power move.
Yes. So this movie, actually, I appreciate it and like it a lot more than I thought I would.
So it's 5 on your list, then?
It's number 5.
Okay. I wonder if... I'm wondering if the rankings are going to change. Because mine, I still have this at number 6. And I have Phantom Menace above this, but honestly, after watching both of them and like actually analyzing it with you, I think I'd probably put them on par with each other, at least for like my personal enjoyment of them. Because I don't know, I still like this movie. I still would say it's at the very least good. I don't think it's groundbreaking or amazing or anything. I don't know. I think I would put it on par with the Phantom Menace in terms of my enjoyment, at least.
Yes.
And because they both have their pros and cons.
Oh yeah, I don't think this movie is perfect.
No.
There's a lot of parts of this movie that I really don't like.
Yeah, like you were saying last time, Phantom Menace has Jar Jar. I'd say this has the really bad love dialogue. And I think it's just the dialogue, because what they're actually saying, I think, is not too bad. Like, there's that scene where they're in the meadow and they're talking about the different types of government, and Anakin's like, people should all just they shouldn't be sitting around. They should all like try and agree on everything. And that's Padme's like, well, they can't. And he's like, well, maybe, someone should make them. It's like pretty cool foreshadowing for, when he actually does start making people the forcibly doing that stuff.
See, I like the foreshadowing, but I think Anakin was too unlikable in this movie for me to feel any sympathy for him.
He's a bit angsty, and I know people complain about that. It's like, oh, he's just a whiny brat like Luke. But I mean, you got to look at the way he was raised. Again, going back to the Phantom Menace sort of trickling through these other films.
Yeah.
He was brought into the Jedi Temple. First of all, they didn't want him when he was 9. And now he's growing up in the Jedi Order, but not in the traditional way. So there is some, friction there. He's questioning Obi-Wan. Because you look at Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon was like, Obi-Wan, go do that. He's like, yes, master. But Anakin's questioning. He's like, why do we have to do this? Why can't we just protect Padme? And Obi-Wan's like calm down.
The great scene where they build tension between Anakin and Obi-Wan for the first time, where they're talking to Padme, and he's like, well, we should go, why?
Yeah.
Why should we do that? And Obi-Wan's like, what? You respect your elders.
Yeah, you're going to do what I say.
Yeah. And it's like, ooh. So like Anakin's angsty, he's a teenager. I think that was probably what he was going for in this movie.
Yeah,
but
he has every right to be. I feel like too.
True.
Sort of like Luke. I know people whine about that, like, ooh, Luke's whiny. It's like, I think both of them have every right to be, you know?
See, Luke never bothered me.
No, Luke never bothered me either.
But Anakin did. Anakin in episode 3 is great.
Oh, yeah. But that's sort of like, I feel like he's great because there's a contrast between 2 and 3. You could see he's more of like a mature adult, especially after the events of the Clone Wars and all that. And by the way, I just wanted to say, I thought it was interesting that you said that this movie gets enhanced by the Clone Wars show, because usually what people say is Revenge of the Sith is a better movie. And I do agree. Like, I feel like Revenge of the Sith was a good movie that gets extremely like brought up by the Clone Wars if you watch it. But no one really talks about the Phantom Menace or clones being, you know, greatly improved.
I like it because it's such a small scale thing. Like they like, the issue is like, if this part of the Senate detaches and they have an army, we only have the Jedi and they're not warriors. Like, we can't defend against an army.
Yeah, Qui-Gon says something similar in Phantom Menace too to the Queen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Okay. I was like, when was that?
He's like, we can. What did he say? We can protect you, but we can't fight a war for you. And I think Mace Windu says the same thing that you're talking about. It's like, we're keepers of the peace, not soldiers. And Palpatine knows that, so he's just thrusting them into this war that they really should not have been involved in from the start.
No, but as you can see, he's given the side eye after manipulating everyone. Like, there's like the really like, okay, I think I was shitting on Palpatine too much. I think he's great at manipulating, and I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when he was saying, like, Padme, you should have a Jedi escort. She's like, I do not need any more help from the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
And he's like, it would just break my heart if anything would have happened to you. And I was like, ooh, you slimy snake.
He's the one who's hiring her to... hired the Jango Fett to just wipe her out.
Yeah.
She's like the deciding vote.
Yes.
Yeah. Because this is another scenario. I think Revenge of the Sith is the only time I can't really apply this to it, but this is another... I think I talked about it when we talked about Phantom Menace, was no matter what, Palpatine wins type of deal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's no really...
Like, if somehow General Grievous used the malevolence to, like, wipe out all of the Jedi, like...
Oh,
cruisers.
You're talking about... Okay, yeah.
It's like, if the Separatists would have won, he could have been like, okay, I am going to abolish the Senate. And
yeah,
the
exactly.
So what's going to rule? And, you know, if what ended up happening actually happened, and it's like, yeah, then he would have won on either side.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, even like in this, it's like, in order to get the Republic to go to war, I mean, it's sort of like a plan B type deal again. Like, I don't think this goes exactly how Palpatine didn't. I'm assuming he wanted a Jedi to investigate, go into everything, but I don't know if he wanted like Obi-Wan specifically, but someone had to find out about the clone army.
Yeah.
Which is actually, that's kind of like, now that I'm actually thinking about that, I don't know what his original intention was going to be, other than maybe just amass everything with Count Dooku, like the army, and then be like, have like a huge attack, maybe like a Battle of Coruscant type deal, and now he's like, oh, we really need an army, if Padme had rallied enough like senators against it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how would he have triggered the war?
If Obi-Wan wasn't as intelligent and didn't have that connection to Dex.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Dexter Jetster.
I
like him. I know people like to, joke about the prequel aliens, be like, oh, the aliens from Canto Bight look like they're from the prequels. I'm like, no. I like the way he looks, and he was also the same species as Pong Krell, the asshole from Clone Wars.
Yeah.
The one who was slaughtering the clones.
So, I like Dexter, but I don't like his mustache. He doesn't need it.
His hair looks kind of weird.
It looks disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of, think about it, they look like Jar Jar. In real life, he would look disgusting.
Oh, yeah. This movie looks a lot better than The Phantom Menace, for sure.
Oh, visually, yeah.
And my biggest, like, thumbs up in this movie is, like, that I think it's better than Phantom Menace, that Jar Jar is in it the perfect amount. Like, he's barely in it.
But he does have a pivotal role as the, what should I call them? The Darth Jar Jar truthers will tell you. Him, which I actually kind of like. It's almost like insulting to Padme that she's off on her own thing, and he's like, oh, we need a radical senator to make the bill pass, or like to push the vote for emergency powers. Like, oh, if only Padme were here, she would love to do that. And it's like, oh, you son of a bitch, she wouldn't want to do that.
And Jar Jar's like, Misa, help
Yeah.
with my uncle, Partar Binks.
Look, when he says Dello Felagets, I just go, oh.
Dello
Felagets.
Oh my! I forgot.
Like really, what like it's going back to the speech thing. Would it really have been so hard for him to go fellow delegates? Like, and then people laugh at him for being like it's Jar Jar, not the fact that he's talking like a goodness. Anyway,
now I infected you with the Jar Jar hate. Bug.
oh, I don't hate him though. Trust me,
I hate him.
I'd say he's in Revenge of the Sith the perfect amount. I can't imagine him being in that movie any more than he is already. But I would like to talk about the opening crawl just for like a minute. I think it's one of the better ones. It's really good. It fills in a 10-year gap, tells you the state of everything, what's going on, and then the movie sort of fills in the rest of the gaps with like specifics with Anakin and Obi-Wan and all that. And you could tell where they are at in their lives. But it's like
there isn't any like filler game or book between episode 1 and 2, is there?
In terms of like the old canon, there was like a couple books. I remember one of them I checked out of the library when I was little, but I never actually read it. It was called Rogue Planet, I think, and it was I don't know. I just remember that. I remember that specifically. There is in the canon one 5-issue comic book. I think that'd be pretty cool to cover. It's called Anakin and Obi-Wan, or Obi-Wan and Anakin. And it's about, I'd say it's about 5 years after the Phantom Menace. So like right in between these. And Anakin is talking about wanting to like leave the Jedi Order or something like that. Like he's like still young, but like over the course of the thing, he decides to. I only read that once, but it was pretty good. It wasn't bad. But other than that, there's nothing except for like a Padme book about her transitioning from queen to senator, and that one was just all right.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, that's the one. I thought you meant the other weird Padme book. Oh, I'd like to talk about Jango Fett.
Jango Fett. See, I'm not crazy about him.
I prefer him to Boba, as our friend John Mando. Well, they always fight me on, but I prefer him way more to Boba Fett because Jango. I'm sorry, John. Jango actually does stuff. He's got
he does do stuff as compared to Boba Fett. But I'm not crazy about either of them.
No, I think he makes the whole Obi-Wan investigation, he sort of props it up a little bit, because I do think it's cool and everything, but I also think it's cool that Jango Fett is the one that they hired, and he also using him as the template for the clone army. Let's just talk about the whole Obi-Wan subplot branching off from Jango Fett. What did you think of him investigating the clone army?
I love it. Yeah, because like they could have done a lot with Obi. Like they had a pretty open slate with Obi-Wan. Like after the Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Like because he didn't really have a personality. His personality is whatever Qui-Gon told him to do.
Yeah, he just sort of sat around until he had to fight, basically. Yeah.
And then you had the only other depiction of Obi-Wan was Ben Kenobi, and like he was a crotchety old man, pretty much.
Oh,
he didn't even like Star Wars.
Yeah. Okay, the actor was crotchety, not Obi-Wan. He was just sort of the wise sage. I don't want to say he didn't have a personality, but he just more or less was always very stoic and wise, and he always seemed to know what was going on. Deal.
So when they had gone in this movie, made Obi-Wan like kind of wisecracking, like smarter, almost like a detective. Like if this was like a police movie, they'd be like buddy cops.
I could see that.
Like this whole opening sequence, like the assassination on Padme with the bugs, and like they're chasing down that bounty hunter.
Oh yeah.
That's like, is this like a cop movie in the future? You know.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's like like a couple of dudes, a couple of Jedis, dude bros. Yeah. I'm the loose cannon Anakin. And I am the straight-shooting, wisecracking Obi-Wan.
I like how far it goes, and Obi-Wan doesn't really get any solid answers. There is one of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars is called The Lost Ones, or The Lost One. And they basically, because in this movie there really is no resolution to who ordered the clone army, because Obi-Wan takes the dart, gets it checked out, goes to Kamino. Apparently the army was ordered 10 years ago by Sifo Dyas. What happened to him? Don't really know. He goes to arrest Jango Fett for answers, but he doesn't ever really get them, and then they end up using the clone army. But what I like in that episode is they basically said they never really had time after that to actually, investigate, because they were fighting a war.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? I could cut this part out. I forgot.
No, it's all right.
I went on a tangent for a sec.
If you can't get your train of thought back, okay. I had another thought.
Oh, go ahead.
So I was very confused as a kid as to where the clone army came from. And
Okay.
like it still confused me to this day. And they was like, oh, Master Sifo Dyas ordered it. Master Sifo Dyas has been dead for 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's like that was not like a good enough answer to me. After only watching the movies, I was like, I don't like that. Like,
Yeah.
I want like maybe investigate it a little bit more. Have Yoda go do something, or Mace Windu go like in a little like, I don't know, 15-minute scene of him like going through the records, the Jedi archives or something. You
Well,
know?
he does. He tries to find Camino, but
But
I feel like they give you I think George Lucas said on the commentary he didn't want to specifically give away who ordered the clone army because come next movie, even though they look like stormtroopers, you don't want to give away that they're going to turn on the Jedi, you know? For those, for those who don't know. So originally, Sifo Dyas was supposed to be some like weird play off of the name Sidious, like Sidious or something like that. And it was supposed to be obviously Sidious who ordered the clone army, but he there was a typo. So George Lucas was like, "Oh, it'd be kind of cool if there was like another layer to it, and maybe a Jedi ordered it, and he had like a I don't think they say it in this, but Sifo Dyas had a premonition that they would need an army and the Republic would be going to war, so that's why he ordered it with Count Dooku, and then obviously Dooku killed him."
Yeah, that was a good episode of Clone Wars too.
They go into their relationship more in the Dooku book or audio drama or whatever. They're actually pretty good friends, and when he kills him, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
geez, like finding that out. But I love the Clone Army. I'll say that the Clone Army is a really cool idea, because when you hear, if you were just going off of the original trilogy and you hear Clone Wars, that could mean like a whole bunch of things. Like they could be called clones because they were like servants of the Republic. They could be called clones because they were all wearing the same armor. But the fact that they're actually, genetic clones for an army, and I like the parallel between that and the droid army. It's like the droids are cheap to make, but you could do it like quickly, but they're not as efficient as clone troopers, and the clone troopers are obviously more efficient, but they take longer to grow, even with a double accelerated, like, what does it say, they take half the time to grow of like a normal human,
something like that.
And I know it's not really like fair to put it on these movies, but you really don't get any characterization from the clones. Not that you would get a lot of it in this movie. It's more of a Revenge of the Sith type deal, and I know they don't have all the time to devote to it, but after the Clone Wars, they actually have personalities, and because in this they're just disposable cannon fodder, basically.
Which I think was a great move, expanding as much as they did on the clones in the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are really interesting, and like they bring up the whole point of like, what are the clones gonna be after the war's done? Like, has anyone thought about that? Like, they were bred to kill droids, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, in my favorite episode, is it Umbara?
Oh, is that your favorite one?
One of them.
Okay, I was about to say I wrongly predicted your favorite episode.
That's the one with Pong Krell, right?
That's the arc with it.
Yeah. So at the very very end of it, Captain Rex is like, or one guy is like, what happens when the war's over? Captain Rex is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we were made for. Like, when it's over, like, do we just become like citizens?
I'm assuming, yeah, I mean, and the sad part is, I think we might have touched on this before, but the sad part is that there was no end of the war for them,
Yeah.
There was all, again, Palpatine manipulating everything and them playing into the tragic element of the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know you said that it was kind of, you've heard people say that Revenge of the Sith is their favorite Star Wars movie because of the lightsaber fights and the action, and that was the reason for them liking that, and you said that was sort of shallowish, and I agree, but I do think, I'm going to say this movie has the best action of all the Star Wars movies.
Thanks to Geonosis.
Well, not just that. I think that this whole speeder chase is good. I think Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett is good. I even like the conveyor belt scene, even though it's sort of like the underwater scene from the Phantom Menace, where it's like, if you could just make like a smaller scene of this, of them getting captured or them going through and cutting it, but that's good. I like the fight at the end with Yoda and Dooku.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I as a kid, I loved all those fights. That's why I would enjoy the movies. But then as I've been getting older, it's like they just don't do it like that for me anymore. It's like what makes me enjoy these movies is like the foreshadowing and the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Well, I would say for me, it's that stuff that sort of fuels the action and why I like it. Now
are some hot babes in this.
Okay.
Movie, let me just say.
So I know the fight at the end between Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Dooku. I know the characters, aside from Yoda and Dooku, really don't have that much connection or anything going on, kind of like the Darth Maul thing. But I will say it is story-wise an important fight, at least, because if he escapes, the Clone Wars are gonna, keep going on. But they could end it, like they say, end it right here and now. If they capture him, they could, stop the war from happening.
Then Anakin ruins that for everybody.
Hey, he tried. He did the two-handed lightsaber attack real quick, and then he failed.
Yeah, so they both pretty miserably failed.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dooku is like a master swordsman. I think it's only in the Clone Wars, but he fights with one hand behind his back.
Dude's like 80 years old.
But it's like Yoda. He's like drawn on the Force to, fight. Let's talk about Dooku for a little bit. He's a pretty interesting character, but I think another one of the ways this movie falls short is that they don't really touch on him as much because they want to make him, they don't want you to know if he's a bad guy or not until the very end.
Because he talks to Obi-Wan when he captures him on Geonosis as if, like, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah, because I know they don't... I don't want to keep saying they don't touch on it in the movie, but in the novel of, I think, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, he views Obi-Wan as like his grandson because Qui-Gon was his student, so he views Qui-Gon as his son, that sort of situation. So it was almost like a familial thing with him he felt like he could connect with Obi-Wan and try and get him to, change sides. And I do like how he straight up tells him, like, the Senate is under the control of not a Sith, the Sith Lord, and he name drops Darth Sidious, and he straight up like tells him, and then Obi-Wan, going back to what we were saying last time about the Jedi hubris, is like, what? There's no way the Sith Lord could have done that without us knowing. And then he goes back to, at the very end of the movie, Obi-Wan says, like, do you think what he was saying is true? And Yoda's like, no, deceit and mistrust are his ways now. He's lying to us. No way. And it's like, oh Jedi.
They're naive. Like,
I wouldn't say they're naive.
I think they've become. I'll take that back.
They're arrogant.
They're arrogant. They've become comfortable.
Yes.
Living on Coruscant with a thriving Jedi temple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Becoming these like, there's a dispute on blah blah blah. All right, let's just go send Anakin and Obi-Wan to go settle it. Yeah, they're doing very comfortable. You're right. They're doing comfortable stuff. And I mean, even look at what Mace Windu says when Padme suggests that Dooku is behind the assassination. He says, like, he was once a Jedi. There's no way. It's not in his character for him to commit a crime like that. It's like, how big-headed do you have to be to not see that there might be some type of connection of the guy from the separatist movement leading to that?
Yeah, like, Mace Windu is, like, constant wall. Like,
yes.
That's basically to talk about him a little bit, his character is just, like, always being an obstacle. Even when he's gonna be useful, like, he's only useful at the very end when he's about to kill Palpatine. And then...
Yeah, I mean, he is like a very strong warrior, but you're right, in terms of like being like a character, he is basically just the embodiment of everything that's wrong with the Jedi of the time. At least that's how I view it. Mm-hmm. And that's why he sort of butts heads with Anakin a lot, because he sort of views him as like almost like an outsider, The Jedi aren't really a family. Aside from Anakin's connection with Obi-Wan and Palpatine, Palpatine's sort of the father that I believe that's how Dave Filoni phrased it, as the father that Anakin never had. And Obi-Wan in this movie is like a father figure, but towards the end, he even says it, you were my brother. He needed to be more of a father figure and less of a brother figure.
Yeah.
He didn't need a brother. Friend. Yeah, exactly. That's not what he needed. I do like, just on a side note, it's the scene where Yoda's on his floaty chair. I do like that. I think this is the only time it shows up other than the Lego Star Wars game, the original one. If you remember, he would like float around because he was like very slow.
Yes, I think it's a great idea because Yoda is really slow. He like, jumps around with the Force like a monkey.
Yeah, like makes sense. Do you like that? Do you like Yoda with a lightsaber? No. I know some people have a problem with that. I really don't.
I like it. I mean, I don't mind it. Yeah. I don't like it though. I'll take that back. I feel like he should just like use the Force. Like he's so powerful, he can just like destroy like the entire person just by crushing them. Just like there's 10 droids in front of me, I can just destroy them with my brain. They're not real humans, so like they should have no quarrels about using like strong Force against them, right?
I guess I can see that. Like I get the arguments against him, but I don't know. There's a couple of different ways you could read into him having a lightsaber, other than him just being a Jedi. It could just be like it's required,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I like her space suitcases too.
So Padme and Naboo are some of my favorite parts of the prequel. Like, just Naboo in general, like how Padme dresses, their ships, their guns.
Yeah. But you said last time that was your favorite planet, right?
Yeah, Naboo is definitely my favorite planet. Just from like the movies. Excuse me.
The movies.
The movies.
This movie's making you regurgitate.
Yeah. If we're getting to the love scene, so.
Yeah, it's about time to talk about that.
I don't
in greater detail. It's easily the worst part of the movie, but again, I think it's more or less
I'm in agony.
the dialogue itself and not what's being said. Because Anakin, it's really overdramatic.
Anakin is so overdramatic.
Because he's like, you're haunting me. You're in my very soul. It's like, that could be powerful, but it's just, it's not.
Anyone would be like, okay.
Yeah. I do get why he's like attracted to her. That's like the only woman he's basically met. That wouldn't have been a Jedi that he's had some sort of connection with. And again, he hasn't had his emotions repressed like the other Jedi, so he is acting like a normal teenager, conflicting with the Jedi trying to instill whatever type of brainwashing they have in there.
Yeah, because Anakin's like Mondo creepy in this.
There's a few parts where he's
almost
looking.
like I see him in this movie as like, see, that's my issue with whiny Anakin. Is Anakin in episode 1 is like mature for a kid. Like, that's his whole thing. Like, he's making a pod racer. He's building a whole robot. And then like in this episode, he's just like reverted to how he would have been as a child. Like, the personalities are switched between this movie and the first one.
I guess.
Because, like, he's immature and, like, he blows up, like, super easily and, like, he doesn't think rationally. He just does whatever he wants.
I don't blame him, though, because he's trying to... He wasn't brainwashed or indoctrinated early enough for the Jedi, so there's got the conflicting emotion of who he was, and, having attachments and all that is conflicted with the Jedi being like, no, you can't fall in love, you can't, I think he even says you're allowed to love other people, but you can't, like, grow attached to them. You have to learn to let things, like, go. Well, look what happened to his mom in this, and how he reacted to that. It's partially due to the way he was brought up in the Jedi Order,
Yeah, it's such an interesting like start to like just to kind of touch on the entire prequel trilogy and like what the prequels mean, like what they like did. It's like to give like Darth Vader of all characters. Basically, this is like Darth Vader's backstory.
Yeah.
You could argue this is Darth Vader's backstory. Like, show, like, the corruption of the Jedi, how they fell, and, like, yes, giving Anakin, like, all of this trauma and, like, backstory with, his mom dying and him, like, murdering of all the Tusken Raiders. Tusken Raiders are awful, but he does murder children and women.
That's the gray area for that.
That's where it's like, okay, you're murdering defenseless people.
Yeah, it's like there's a line between the people that that actually captured and tortured your mom and the innocent children.
Yeah.
Which is all I really like. I know people were complaining about that, but that's one of my favorite parts of the movie is Anakin going to Tatooine and trying to search for his mom, and then her dying in his arms.
It's a great character building moment. Like it like, for instance, the Dexter's Diner scene, it's like, oh, haha, it's like a 70s diner, haha, goofy, Dexter's got a mustache, and then you go to Tatooine, Anakin's like, my mother's, like, being tortured, and she just died in my arms, and, like, I'm just gonna murder everything, and it's like, ooh.
It's brilliant foreshadowing, too, for what's gonna happen in the next movie with the Jedi, because what happens, he murders all the men, women, and then they show the scene of him killing the younglings. It's like, he just loses control. And on the one hand, that's why I like this more as an adult, because on the one hand, I don't blame him, because those people kidnapped his mom for no reason, tortured her to death, and he's just like, what? He's gonna just take that lying down? So, like, on the one hand, I understand that's like justified rage, but like we were saying, on the other hand, he went too far, and he knows it because he was crying to Padme. He's like, like he's just screaming like, I hate them.
Yeah.
Because he feels bad that he did it, but he hates them. He's so conflicted.
Yes, I love that scene.
It's really good. And then people are like, well, how come Padme? Blah blah blah. Like
maybe she was maybe even afraid.
Yeah.
Like that's always the vibe I got, that she was like, oh my god, then she went like, oh my god, like,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
You see, I got the vibe that she just sensed that he was in such pain. Because, I mean, she knows Tusken Raiders. I'm sure Anakin later on would, explain, like, these people. Or maybe, like, at some point, it's like, yeah, obviously he came back with a corpse. And it's like, okay, Anakin didn't kill his mom. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I actually completely forgot about that whole scene where Anakin goes back and talks to that Shmi got married and whatever. And, like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
A reappearance of classic character Watto.
I,
He's got, like, a plate for a hat.
yeah. He's all homeless, man.
I kind of like that, though. Serves him
Yeah.
right. He lost Shmi, and then he just loses his business.
Shmi was the glue, man.
Or wait, did he lose? And maybe I never put that 2 and 2 together. Did he lose because of the bet on Sebulba? Because he was like, I lost everything. Did he really lose everything?
I think he had to sell Shmi.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I think it was like for money. And then, she got freed and married, which was a weird thing to add. Like,
Well,
why not just have her get captured from Watto's shop on, like, one night?
Well,
Like, why even introduce Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen?
well, because I think you would need to, right, for it to make sense where Luke is in the next one. Because where would Obi-Wan drop him off?
Obi-Wan never meets them, though.
He does. At the very, very end of Revenge of the Sith, he drops off little Luke to Owen and Beru. He never, like, met them, but...
I was just like, how did he know to go there, though?
Because there's a scene... How long has it been since you watched Revenge of the Sith?
Dude.
Okay, there was a scene where Yoda tells him, like, to Tatooine, take him. Like, and then, yeah.
Dude, good Yoda impression.
That is a horrible Yoda impression. Last time we talked about the things that the Phantom Menace spawned, like the books and video games and stuff. I think this is the second best material we got from like a movie. I think Revenge of the Sith, everything that came with that, books, comics, video games. I think that one's the best one. This is probably the second best. I have 3 different games because the ones on Game Boy aren't. They're not good. As we will find out. Bounty Hunter, which is the Jango Fett game, Jedi Starfighter, and The Clone Wars, which it's not what you're thinking of when I say The Clone Wars. It's like a clone. It's like a couple months after Attack of the Clones. And it was before before either Clone Wars show came out.
What was it?
It's like a video game where you're just. It's actually kind of cool.
Oh, does it have like an ATST on the cover?
It's like it's like the Battle of Geonosis is on the cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I loved that game.
That one's pretty good.
Yeah.
That one, it spawned that, and then
They had the Bounty Hunter game. I think I already said that.
that one's good. That one's really good. And the Jedi Starfighter, I played that on stream. I haven't finished it yet, but that one was good too. Excuse me. Oh my God.
This movie, like, really, like, this made me, like, I thought this was like Star Wars. Like, this is what Star Wars should be, like, with the Geonosis battle. I'm like, robots and clones. And, like, when I saw Clone Wars, like, after this, and, like, obviously it came out after Episode 3 came out.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I was like, oh, this is, like, the best thing ever.
Oh yeah.
This is exactly what I wanted from Star Wars.
Getting back to this being the best action, I say that, but I think Revenge of the Sith might have the best action. But then I'm also thinking of how long the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight goes on for, because it's a good fight. But I agree with you. If it just like, then it's like they fight on the arm, and then the arm breaks, and then they climb up the arm, and then they swing on the ropes, and then they jump off the ropes, and then they land on the platform
like Tarzan.
and then they fight on the platform, and then they jump on the lava bank.
It's like
oh
a
my
Pirates of the
goodness.
Caribbean final fight scene.
Oh, you know
Like
what?
if you
You're
put
right.
the-
It's like the third one. Yeah. I think that was only 2 years after that movie, so maybe there is some type of correlation. I'm not suggesting that they ripped it off, but maybe they were like, oh, they're swinging
That's
on
a
the
pretty
rope.
good idea.
Or maybe George Lucas was inspired by like old pirate films or something. I don't know.
Either way,
But-
I thought that one went on way too long.
But I think the action in this comes at good moments, and again, I think it's really good. I really liked the fight between Jango and Obi-Wan, especially when he gets the lightsaber knocked out of his hand and they're like headbutting each other and stuff, and then he gets his hands tied up, and the only part I don't really like is the asteroid field chase, and I think it's good with the exception of the one part where he's shooting Jango Fett's shooting Obi-Wan's ship from behind, and it's like, how is it looks like Obi-Wan's ship should be like 10 points, like blowing up 10 points.
Yeah.
All right, where's the next fighter? And, collect
So
them.
like he's hitting every atom around his ship.
Yeah, I think that's what Mr. Plinkett said. He's like, you're hitting every molecule around the ship, except the ship.
And they were like exploding too. Like you think.
Yeah, it's like, and then when he finally hits him, it's like a little tiny like. It's like,
And he's
oh,
like,
really?
He's like, awful. We have to go
Yeah.
somewhere.
But the final fight, I think it's brilliantly paced because it starts out they don't have any weapons and they got to fight the 3 creatures.
Yes.
The 3, then it like they manage to defeat 2 of them. They're
And
riding the other one.
There's no music during the creature part, right?
I think there might be.
I think it's just like the sound of the Coliseum, like people cheering and stuff.
Initially, and then like
Yes, and then once
he whips the chain around the thing, the
It goes-
weird the reek,
the which one?
the one with the horn and like the bull nose, the Wookiee. Dude, the reek is so cool. I want that to be.
I'm just gonna go ahead on record and say watching, because we watched it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
3
something
weeks
like
ago.
that.
I haven't watched it in like a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Rewatching that Geonosis arena scene from beginning all the way to the end of the Battle of Geonosis.
Oh yeah, it's so
good.
Because they like getting back to it. It was like they're fighting and whatever. And then they get on top of it, and then it's like, oh, they're cornered. It's like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Like they're at their wits' end, and then you see, oh shoot, Mace Windu's coming, and he like puts the lightsaber over Jango Fett. It's like, ooh. He's not playing around, and then you see all the Jedi in the arena, which I think you brought up the point of how come no one noticed how they were there.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know we had hooded Geonosians all of a
because
sudden.
they're in the stands with them. It's like
Where it's only Geonosians.
Yeah, so that but I mean that's something I can just give a pass to, like whatever. It's
Yeah,
neat
enough.
enough.
I was like, oh yeah, it was a cool scene. Anyway.
Yeah, but then anyway, they fight, and it's like a long fight, and then you see like the new super battle droids for the first time, and then like there's what 20 of them left or something, and then Count Dooku's like, "You're gonna surrender?" They're like, "No." It's like, "All right, kill him." And then Padme looks up and is like, "Look!" And then Yoda and the clones come in. Oh my goodness, it's so exhilarating. And then they pick them up and
aim for the droid.
yeah. And then even the battle outside is really cool too. Just the massive like armies fighting each other. It feels like a war.
It does
proper.
Like that's the thing is like there's not a lot of battles in this. There's almost no battles. No, the only battle is Geonosis in episode 2.
Are you talking like a large scale?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Or in
the
like
only...
episode 1 there was kind of Naboo, where it was like the ground battle with the Gungans and then like the space battle, but it just I love the escalation of tension from episode 1 to episode 3. Like the beginning of episode 3 is a giant battle over Coruscant. And that scene is good.
The scene is incredible.
Yes. And that's like a thing I think the prequels did really well is building the tension because you know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've seen episode 4.
That's what I mean. Like
presumably.
that's why I say it's like the best element of these movies is tragedy, because as good as Anakin is, as smart as Obi-Wan is, as wise as Yoda is, they're gonna fail and they can't do anything about it.
Yes, and we know that.
Yes.
And they're still gonna like struggle, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I also wanted to say this is one of the best endings to a Star Wars movie, too. As a testament, my dad, who will usually talk over everything, I was playing this movie, and the ending was on, and he didn't say one word. The part where it's Yoda, like, begun the Clone War has. And then it's the shot of all the clone troopers on Coruscant, and Palpatine and his cronies looking over the balcony, and the Imperial March is playing, and then Anakin and Padme are, like, holding hands, and it's like...
And it's like tragic.
Yes.
Like they're having a wedding, but it's like it does not feel good.
Because it's like, even if you haven't watched the other ones, it's like, okay, something ain't right here, because this is a bit too, I don't want to say happy, but it's almost,
it's too ideal.
Yes. It's like, okay, they're going to get married in secret against the Jedi Code. That can't go well. Like, I don't know. I think it's, of the, middle movies. I was thinking about this because originally we were going to do The Last Jedi for our second episode. We were going to do Force Awakens first and then Last Jedi. But I was thinking about why I don't like the ending of that movie compared to this one and the other, like the middle movies, like Empire and this one. Mm-hmm. It's because there is some sort of like cliffhanger in this one and in Empire, and something to keep you interested for the next one. Something where it's like, Empire, it's like, okay, we got to get Han back.
Yeah.
And then Luke's going to have to confront Vader again. And I don't know how any of this is going to turn out. With this one, it's like, all right, the Republic's going to war, and Anakin and Padme are going to, go against their better judgment and get married. It seems slightly optimistic, but one, if you've seen the other movies, in the next movie things are about to go bad quick.
Yes.
And secondly, if you haven't seen it, it's like, okay, what's going to happen between these two, Anakin and Padme? Is the Republic going to win the war? Are they going to find Darth Sidious? What's the deal with Dooku? That type deal. But like with The Last Jedi, it's like they're just optimistic that they're going to win the war against the First Order for no reason. And then there's the Broom Kid. It's like, oh.
Broom Boy.
Broom Boy. We'll get to him. But what did you think of the ending? Do you like this ending?
I do.
I think it's some of the best music.
I do. I think the music is kind of what sets the whole tone for it, because you have Palpatine looking over, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
like, oh, they're the Empire. Those are stormtroopers.
If you couldn't tell before.
Yeah, and then you see Anakin, and you're like, that's right, Anakin's gonna become Darth Vader.
Yeah,
but he's getting married.
Yeah,
something's gonna happen to Padme.
Yeah, what's gonna happen with Luke and Leia and all that? And how's Obi-Wan gonna factor into it?
As much as I don't like the Phantom Menace, I do like what it did with. It's just a small blockade of Naboo. Yeah. That's all this is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, now there's a separatist movement, and they're going to go to war with us, and they're going to, like, detach from the Senate. And it's like, we need an army.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we have an army. We just started a war. All right. And then you go to episode 3, and it's like, we're going to end the war. And, oh.
Oh, yeah. I think that the music in this movie, it almost feels wrong, but I want to say it's my third favorite soundtrack out of all the movies. I mean, because then my top 3 would be episode 3, 1, and 2 in that order.
Really?
I think so. I love the music, the Camino music, the Coruscant music in this, the Geonosian music, the conveyor belt fight, the actual Battle of Geonosis itself. And I know John Williams reused some tracks from Phantom Menace in this, but it works.
Yes. So that's another thing is this John Williams, really, his music set the tone so well for all of these movies. I'm going to say for the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. Sequels, I can't tell you one fucking track off of them.
I can name a few. They're just not. I just prefer this music because it's just, man, I feel like he went all out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, with, like, the slight variations of the Imperial March that play, like, throughout, like, the movies. And, like, the sweeping orchestra. It's like sad and like empty.
Yeah.
Like for instance, the marriage scene.
Yeah.
Like it's a marriage. It's supposed to be happy, but you just feel like doom.
Like, yeah. Like Anakin, you're right, because Anakin and Padme's love theme sort of transitions into like I think it's called Across the Stars, and at first it's sort of like a haunting flute, and then it sort of goes into the sweeping, and then it almost gets like militant. And that's what they used for the Battlefront 2 Galactic Conquest music, like dun, 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 that one.
Yeah.
It's like it sort of tells you what the relationship is going to be like and going forward, love at war type deal. Just another thing I wanted to say, I didn't mention it when I was talking about Jango Fett and how much I like his character. Again, I feel like it's like Dooku. They don't give enough, but like I don't think that this movie really required it. But with Dooku, I feel like you probably should have given a bit more. But with Jango Fett, I like it. How interesting is that a bounty hunter is a template for the Republic's clone army?
Yeah,
and he has an unaltered version of himself, and he treats that as his son. It's kind of weird when you think about it, but it's like it's him, but it's not.
Yeah, it's like it's a clone of himself that he's raising as himself, as his son. It's like.
It's kind of it's weird.
Why are you doing that?
It's weird, but I like it.
Yeah. We've said a lot of positive and negatives. I feel like plenty of each.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Anakin and Padme's relationship because it's not
a little
good
more.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll just finish up with Tamora, and then the
we
last
can
thing I'll
talk
talk about
aliens
is the
and planets, because I really do like Camino and all these planets. But so Anakin and Padme's relationship, like is such a bad one. It is never positive, I feel like. They're either always hiding it from somebody, which isn't healthy, or like Anakin is
That's
like
the point.
has to get his way. I
Yeah.
feel like he does not move.
What do you mean?
Like he's stubborn.
Yeah, I guess.
He,
Again,
she's like, we shouldn't do this, whatever. Like for instance, in this movie where he starts kissing her and she's like, we shouldn't be doing this, and he's just like still just like touching her and like, well, why not? It's like okay, all right, Anakin, all
he's,
right.
he's a teenager though, so on the one hand, I don't blame him for trying to. Maybe he almost sees her as like his only chance at having some form of relationship. Because again, who else does he know? Who else would want to be with him?
True, but he like doesn't even care that she's a senator in the Republic.
Because he loves her.
Yeah, and like he's putting himself at risk, but he's also putting her at risk too.
But it's her choice at the end, because she's the one who
True.
says that she loves him.
True.
And the worst line of dialogue in this is, "I truly, deeply love you." It's like, I
truly
feel like you should be making me feel that, not
yeah,
saying
it's
it.
like when she says that, I almost like that's where I'm thinking. I'm almost feel like she's trying to convince herself.
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
I truly, deeply love you, little Annie, little sky guy.
Little Annie. Oh yeah, I don't know. It's definitely the weakest part of the movie, but it doesn't ruin it for me because the rest of the movie I feel like is good enough.
Yeah, I think they
And
could
that's
have
only-
been they could have been more subtle with it.
Yeah, and of the Anakin Padme stuff, that's only like a chunk of it, because then the other chunk is him going to Tatooine. And I do like the part where Padme, people always want to complain about Star Wars having like not the right type of progressive or like go-getter women. Padme, when she finds out Obi-Wan's captured, she starts like clocking into the ship and
Immediately.
yeah, and Obi-Wan, Anakin's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Well, we gotta go save him." And he's like, "No, I have to protect you. We can't just be going." She's like, "All right, we'll just have to come with me if you want to protect me." And he gives him like a smile. It's like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
She's gonna go save him.
I'll get into it more when we talk about Clone Wars, but I love the Padme episodes.
Yeah.
Especially you
don't
find
hear that often.
one of my favorite episodes is when it's her and Duchess Satine on Mandalore.
Is that
And
the one with the tea smuggling?
Yeah.
You know what?
That's a good ass episode.
I don't think I've ever heard. People hate that episode.
I love it.
I don't mind it either.
Oh, that
because
senators go with the blaster.
The
I think
deal-
it's kind of cheesy. It's like, okay, we get it. Like she's tough, but like you don't have to say that.
Yeah.
Like she's art. Like it just kind of exemplifies like Padme is gonna do what she needs to do for the good of people.
Yeah.
Because kids are getting sick and dying, almost dying, and that at that point in the show. So she's
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not afraid to shoot people.
I like that episode because it shows more of the corruption of Mandalore and why Death Watch was able to sort of get in there and usurp the power.
Yeah.
Going back to Jango Fett one more time. This last time, I wanted to praise.
Is this like fan servicing John?
No, this is for me because
Okay.
John doesn't really like Jango that much. I wanted to say how much I love Tamora Morrison in everything Star Wars, but specifically Jango Fett. Awesome actor, fantastic performance, incredible voice.
I'll say his voice.
His voice acting for Republic Commando, for
perfect.
Battlefront 2, for the Bounty Hunter game. Actually, he was Boba Fett in the Battlefront games, Battlefront 2015 and 2017. Perfect. He's awesome. I just wanted to give him some praise there because, man, fantastic.
I'm very excited to see him in.
Oh, I didn't know if we were going to say that or not. I think, just
We
be
can
real
cut.
quick.
We can. bleep
Okay.
that. We
Okay.
can cut that.
I didn't know.
That's a spoiler.
I mean.
That's a spoiler.
Okay, yeah, we'll cut that. But
Whatever.
Also, another thing I think this movie does better than Phantom Menace is planets and stuff. Because, what you get in the Phantom Menace is pretty cool because you get Coruscant, Naboo, and Tatooine.
Yes.
Tatooine's a little bit
And
different.
Where I did love Naboo, and is my favorite planet in Episode 1. Episode 2 has better planets.
Mm-hmm.
Like
more variety.
For instance, Camino and Geonosis.
Oh God, yes.
Like
Perfect.
those two, like perfect contradictions.
Yeah, they're paralleling each other.
Yes,
Yeah.
Camino is, I think, an all-water planet, right?
I haven't seen any dry
I
parts.
think it's like a planet with like an eternal rain. It's
yeah,
always
something
raining.
like that.
So I think it's all-water planet, and that's awesome. There's already like I think Mon Cala, like Mon Calamari, whatever.
Yeah, but they're more
that's
underwater.
like an underwater planet, but
Yeah.
they're like on like man-made islands, like metal
Yeah.
islands, basically. And then Geonosis, where it's like they could have just done Tatooine. They could have just filmed the Tatooine set
Yeah.
instead Dysgeonosis.
Yeah, it's a desert planet
Yeah,
or something.
but they made it like a red rock canyon.
Yeah.
Like desert.
And it looks like termites, like a termite built it, like the
'cause
rocks and the
they're
spires.
bugs.
Yeah.
But they're super smart, and they have factories where they make droids, and it's like,
which look like bugs. They look like drones.
yeah,
Which is pretty cool.
Yep, and it's just like, that's like something, like it felt inspired,
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Whereas like the original trilogy, they were like kind of held back by their time.
Still look good though.
It still looked good, but like the things here, like they're not too outlandish or stupid, where it's like, oh, I could see a planet like with these giant Kaminoan people that can clone people living on top of super high tech platforms on a water planet. Like, that's cool.
Everything is fresh. Even Tatooine, they go to Mos Espa, but it looks different, and they go to this was the first time they had gone back to the homestead since the original trilogy to like film. And you're getting a different part because you go into a Tusken Raider camp. Like, you never realized how they live. They live in like these huts with these like dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
You see their culture. And even Coruscant. You get the nighttime version and like the Undercity a little bit, but it looks so cool.
That's where I get those cop vibes. It feels like, It feels like what's that movie with Harrison Ford?
Oh, Blade Runner?
Yeah, it feels like Blade Runner almost,
There's a homage to Blade Runner in the movie because the Millennium Falcon or something is in the movie Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they have a Blade Runner car in the chase scene.
I didn't know that. That's cool, though.
There's also an X-Wing and 3 TIE fighters going down a trench. And I'm not kidding either. During that chase scene, there's animators. So,
oh my God.
Is that canon? Are they really TIE fighters? No.
I mean technically, yeah.
Yeah.
What is your favorite planet from this movie?
From this movie?
Yeah, I mean, not overall. I mean, just from this movie. Like, if you... Yeah.
My favorite planet is Coruscant. So it'd be weird to say that my favorite planet in this isn't Coruscant, but...
I guess what you see of your favorite planet from this movie. Like, if you like Mos Espa on Tatooine when you normally don't like
I prefer
Mos
that
Eisley.
in the Phantom Menace to this one. I think maybe... Oh, that's actually really tough. I'm going to say probably Camino. No, Geonosis.
Yeah.
I think I like that more just because I think it's cool how they have the factories underground. You just get to see the whole architecture of everything.
Yeah.
And how it works, and like I don't know, I just like how when the excuse me, when the Slave One is flying over or Obi-Wan's flying over, whatever, you can see the like Trade Federation core ships like in the ground, like in sockets. I don't know, it's just really cool looking. So yeah, do you have anything else you would like to add?
Final
thoughts for Attack of the Clones?
Anakin has weird nipples.
Oh yeah, there's the scene, classic nipple scene where he's having the nightmare about mom. Yeah. Ooh, in the novelization, which is very good. I don't want to say brilliant because Revenge of the Sith is brilliant, but this one's very good. The way they describe it, the nightmares about his mom, horrifying. And I hope a child never read that growing up because it's gruesome. It's like, oh my God.
Really? Like what?
Something about like her eyes were like bleeding or something like that, and then she like shattered like glass.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. It was almost demonic.
I guess that's what the dark side corrupting you does.
You think it's at that point?
Well, he is a Sidious spum baby.